Gavin Newsom admits publicly, shamelessly, and enthusiastically that he is a dishonest, unscrupulous hypocrite after a reporter calls him out for condemning Texas, redrawing their congressional districts as an unfair existential threat to democracy, and then declaring that California is going to do the exact same thing, claiming that Texas is cheating and rigging the game, but what California is doing is upholding free and fair elections. I think Gavin's just accepted that the public sees him as a slimy villain and not some beacon of morality, and has decided to stop pretending to be this honest and principled guy, and instead embrace and just lean into who he's always been, which is a power-hungry politician who will try to win by any means necessary. And he even gets called out by the Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who established the Independent Redistricting Committee in California that Gavin Newsom is now trying to scrap, so he can do the same thing he's calling an existential threat to democracy. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. You guys showed so much love on my video yesterday for my birthday. Please keep up that support. But you know I like to start my videos off with something hilarious, and this clip will definitely have you falling out of your seat. Here is a video of Democrats trying to inspire us with their tough talk, saying they are rolling up their sleeves and it is time for them to fight. Tell me if you're scared.
These runaway Democrats think they're Bonnie and Clyde, but the only problem? Their Tommy guns are loaded with wimpy words.
This is a new Democratic Party. We're bringing a knife to a knife fight.
We need to get to fair rules across the nation and not have Democrats showing up with a butter knife to a gunfight.
We have shown up to a gunfight with nothing but good intentions and dull knives.
Our sleeves are rolled up, and we're ready to take this fight. We are ready to fight fire with fire.
But we're not running away. We're running into the fight.
We're asking for help. Maybe just as they did back in the days of the Alamo.
So that was the battle cry from the party of weak men who are trying to galvanize their base and let them know that they are tough and prepared and ready for a mud fight with Donald Trump and the Republicans. But of course it comes off as weak and frail and panicky and unnatural. It sounded like they rehearsed that 30 times in the mirror this morning, because the concept of being courageous or brave or tough is completely foreign to all of them. Not only is it hypocritical that they call out Donald Trump's behavior as unpresidential and condemn him for being an unconstitutional authoritarian, but now are just declaring they're going to try to fight him at his own game. But number two, they're just a bunch of theater kids with rattly knees, trying and failing to pretend to be tough, but trembling so hard inside that it comes out as obvious. But I just wanted to show you guys that so you could have a good laugh at the pathetic desperation of the Democrat Party right now. But here is Gavin Newsom admitting that he is just a blatant hypocrite, and then I'll show you the reporter calling him out.
We would maintain the framework of the Independent Redistricting Commission that I support, that I believe in. We would just allow for this mid-census redistricting to occur just for congressional maps in 26, 28, and 30. It would also state, as I said a moment ago, and I'll reinforce, that we believe it should be national model, independent national redistricting, and it would revert back to its original form. But it's done in response to the existential realities that we're now facing. Things have changed. Facts have changed. So we must change. I think it's in the spirit of, Lincoln's infamous second inaugural. We have to disenthrall ourselves so we can save this country. We've got to think anew. We've got to act anew. Things have changed. We're reacting to that change. They've triggered this response, and we're not going to roll over.
So he's like, oh man, I love the concept of an independent bipartisan redistricting committee that only follows the rules and redistricts with the census. But then says, I completely support the idea of scrapping that entire idea for the next 6 years so we can do the exact same thing as the people he's calling out as being verbatim an existential threat to democracy. If somebody's doing something that's an existential threat to democracy and you decide you're going to do the exact same thing as a response, it means that now you're also an existential threat to democracy. Your entire principled stance of this is unacceptable, this is undemocratic, this disenfranchises voters and prohibits free and fair elections, completely crumbles the moment you do the same thing. And did you hear how he wants to scrap it for the next 3 elections, 2026, 28, and 2030? He says this is a response to big bad Donald Trump, but he won't even be part of the 28 or 2030 elections. Democrat hypocrisy knows no end. They said Donald Trump is going to weaponize the justice system. So what did they do to try and prevent that? The Democrats weaponized the justice system against Donald Trump. They said Donald Trump is a fascist. He will be the end of democracy. So what did they do to try to prevent that? Well, they undemocratically tried to keep him off of the election ballot and subvert the will of the people, of course. They said Donald Trump would use the office of the presidency to benefit his family and closest allies. And what did Joe Biden do on the way out? Gave preemptive pardons to his entire family. And even the Democrat media is starting to catch on to this hypocrisy. Listen to this reporter ask Gavin Newsom, wouldn't what you're proposing be illegal since there is an independent redistricting committee?
Sure, just to be clear, his legislation prohibits a mid-decade redraw. Is that something that you'd be okay with? That way you wouldn't...
Well, this whole thing is in response to, and in many ways it's the spirit, and I appreciate your question, and I'll build off it. It's the spirit of the special session, this special session, as it relates to putting ourselves in a position to respond to the assault on the rule of law and our democratic principles, principles of federalism, 10th Amendment, that so often are brought to bear in light with the litigation that we've advanced. The proposal that we're advancing with the legislature has a trigger. Only if they move forward to dismantling the protocols that are well established would the state of California move forward in kind, fighting, yes, fire with fire. So in that light, I believe there's consistency.
There's consistency? That's the most inconsistent stance I've ever heard. The Democrat Party desperately relies on trying to be seen as the good guys, the compassionate ones, the just ones, demonizing Donald Trump's behavior as belligerent and unbecoming of a dignified person. But now the entire party is having this vibe switch that it's time to fight fire with fire and beat Donald Trump at his own game. I mean, fine, try, go ahead, you're going to lose. But at least stop trying to pretend you're trying to do it in a virtuous way and uphold the norms. If you're trying to win against somebody and that person cheats or you suspect them of cheating, if you feel like you have to cheat in order to have a chance at winning, fine, but then you're also a cheater. It's not justifiable. A principled person would say, I would rather lose doing the right thing than win doing the wrong thing. And that's what this CNN reporter says as he slams a former California congresswoman who's now running for governor of California. Watch.
But I guess the question people would ask respectfully, people would say, aren't you abandoning your principles to win an election?
Not at all. I am trying to stand up for what is left of our democracy in a world in which Donald Trump is trying to game and cheat the system again and again. The people of California made a choice. I made a choice with H.R. 1 to support a system for the whole country. California made a choice trying to lead the way for our democracy. But if what we're going to see is other states change their rules, then California voters have an equal right to Texas to decide to change their rules. And that's what Newsom's talking about, giving California voters the opportunity to rethink how they want to do this in light of the unprecedented and deeply unfair world that we are in.
Congresswoman, the former governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is reportedly preparing to fight California Democrats on this. And as you know, he championed and oversaw the California ballot initiative establishing independent redistricting in 2008. A spokesman for him told Politico that California is on a, quote, race to the bottom by responding to Texas.
Now, what's funny is Democrats are attacking this move by Texas as unprecedented, as undemocratic, an erosion of free and fair elections. Redistricting is supposed to be for census years, is what the Democrats will tell you. But in a previous video, I showed an article that revealed that Democrats did the exact same thing in 2016, a mid-decade redistricting. And that unprecedented mid-decade redistricting led to huge congressional congressional advantages for the Democrats going into the 2018 and 2020 elections. So they're the ones who kicked off this trend that now all of a sudden they're so vehemently against. And it's because it's not solely about what Texas is doing. It's about the overwhelming momentum behind what Texas is doing. Donald Trump is crushing it. The country is energized. The Democrats are on their heels. They lack an identity and they have a historically low approval rating. That's why they're so mad at this move, because they don't just see it as a Republican political strategy. They see it as the nail in their coffin. And it's so funny because, once again, this move is going to continue to tank their approval rating. Because all of the moderate Democrats who may not like everything Trump does is looking at the Democrat Party to be different. And now that they're just openly admitting they're going to try to be the same, those moderates are going to say, hey, we might as well just go with Donald Trump then because he's clearly better at this game. And all of the radical Democrats are going to cheer and get excited that their politicians are rolling up their sleeves and fighting back. But it's only going to lead to another wave of disappointment as they realize they can't beat Donald Trump at his own game. Democrats have already gerrymandered all of their states into oblivion. Donald Trump received 40% of the vote in California, yet California only has 9 Republican seats out of its 52. So they've already created a map that vastly and disproportionately hurts Republicans. And now what Gavin Newsom is proposing as some sort of move to save democracy is to even further disenfranchise Republican voters. And that's why he caught flack from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who created the Independent Redistricting Committee. And here's Gavin Newsom responding to the governor by saying, no. I totally believe in the idea of an independent redistricting committee. In fact, so much I believe it should be federal law that every state should have one. But also, screw the independent redistricting committee. I mean, this guy's a joke. Watch.
We're not here to eliminate the commission. We're here to provide a pathway in 26, 28, and in 2030 for congressional maps on the basis of a response to the rigging of the system by the President of the United States. And it won't just happen in Texas. I imagine he's making similar calls all across this country. It's a big deal. I don't think it gets much bigger. And we're going to respond in a transparent way, an honest way, but it's in response. But I'm not going to sit back any longer in a position, the fetal position, in a position of weakness, when in fact California could demonstrably advance strength.
So there you have it. He just admits it. It's not about principles, it's about winning. And the reason why this is such a losing move for Gavin Newsom is because what Texas is doing is perfectly legal. They don't have to stop what they're doing and adhere to what Gavin Newsom wants. They're not the ones who virtue signaled about voter suppression and handcuffed themselves with an independent redistricting committee. And the Democrats from Texas who are fleeing to Illinois to avoid the vote just make themselves look even worse. The precedent that they're trying to set is the will of the voters doesn't matter. The voters elected a Republican majority, and this is what the Republican majority is doing. But the Democrats, with their holier-than-thou mentality, think they're justified in throwing a hissy fit and fleeing the state to try to delay the vote. They're showing everybody they're narcissists who believe what they want and what they feel supersedes everything else. And for Gavin Newsom, he just looks like a hypocrite who tries to stand on his moral high ground of believing in fair and just elections and independent redistricting committees, and every state should have one of those. But the moment the opposing party takes measures that he doesn't like, that they're fully within their power to take, all of those supposed principles are just thrown right out the window. But the last thing I'm going to show you is a Republican congressman from California talking about how uniquely authoritarian what Gavin Newsom is trying to do is.
Now, of course, being a representative from California, I'm most concerned about my home state, your home state as well, I believe, Bill, and trying to protect our democracy there. And what Gavin Newsom has envisioned is just sort of uniquely corrupt in that he is trying to abolish our independent redistricting commission that was put in place by voters to transfer their authority to himself in the supermajority legislature to toss out the independent nonpartisan map they came up with and to oppose a hyperpartisan map that is aiming to reduce California's Republican representation in Congress from 9 seats out of 52 to 3 seats out of 52. 3 seats out of 52, even though we get over 40% of the vote in statewide elections.
Gavin Newsom will look you straight in the face and tell you that California is a model for fair and just and representative elections. While 40% of the population votes Republican, but only 17% of the congressional houses are Republican. And now he's trying to disenfranchise millions and millions of more Republican voters in California, all because he has a personal grievance with Donald Trump. This guy is an egotistical megalomaniac. The only time he's not doing the California word salad and speaks clearly is when he's lying. He's either not saying anything or he's just being a blatant hypocrite. And he thinks the American people are cheering him on because in his own mind, he's a superhero. But the truth is, they just look reactionary and childish, desperate to do something to try and not be mollywomped by the Republican Party. If the Democrats were so confident that they were going to sweep the midterms because Trump's big, beautiful bill is so unpopular with the American people, they wouldn't be worried about Texas picking up 5 seats. The reason that they're trying to retaliate is because, as we've seen in videos I've covered, MSNBC, CNN, both say it's looking like a bloodbath for the Democrat Party in the midterms. And Gavin Newsom is trying to do everything he can to save the party from complete and utter extinction and also save his presidential chances in the future. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.